Join me in the audio garden to cultivate our collective wisdom, nurture creativity, and spread love. My name is Martha Senator. Welcome to Listen and Be Heard. Today is the final episode of Season 1 of Listen and Be Heard, the third of a three-part series of all of our guests. Not all of them, I didn't get to all of them, but many of our guests from Season 1 reading from their own work. And so today we're going to hear from Vanessa Lee Miller. We're going to hear Syquia, Yvette Murray, Avotcja, Oscar Peñaranda. Let me see. And who else? We're going to hear Tony Robles read the work of Julia Wright from A Gathering of the Tribes, Black Lives Matter issue. We'll also hear from Jackie Ramos, Glenis Redmond, the Poet Laureate of Greenville, South Carolina, where this show originates from. Pilar Uribe reads quotes from famous writers. Opal Palmer Adisa reading from Pretty Like Jamaica. We'll also hear from Dana Bryant and Reg E. Gaines. My name once again is Martha Senator. This show, Listen and Be Heard, is now coming to the end of Season 1. Next week will be the start of Season 2. I feel like I've really learned a lot in this year, and as I head into the second season of the show, I'm heading into the birth of WLBH.org, 24/7 streaming radio, focusing mostly but not entirely on books and spoken word, literature, poetry, memoir, talking to authors and poets and people and creating community culture. So I hope that you've enjoyed Season 1. I would like to hear from you if you have any feedback for me of what you might like me to include in Season 2. So get in touch at editor@listenandbeheard.net. And stay tuned to hear from all these great writers that Tony Robles and I had the privilege of speaking with and engaging with in this first season.
Wai Luku. Wai Luku, the raging Kahavai, the river. Her ka holo, her long, sinuous journey begins as a watery, pencil-thin line, a mere trickle, mauka, way up high, looking towards Na Lani on Mauna Kea. Her awana is a graceful journey iho, down slope, towards rainy Hilo. Hilo, ikaua kanilehua. As she continues to iho, journey downslope, a magical transformation ensues. From her embodiment of a graceful, delicate trickle, she widens, becoming voluptuous. She's now a raging beast, plunging turbulently downward, full of enna, capable of arbitrarily grasping in her watery fist a young, reckless life and smuggling it into one of her many deep, cavernous pockets in her slimy ana. She'll stash it there, it's hers, until the pale, lifeless form struggles through a multitude of tempestuous undercurrents to surface somewhere evil down slope. But during the course of her journey, she leaves a trail of dazzling performances after week upon week of infinite drops of rain from Na Lani. Awestruck Malihini call these wonders Pi'ihonua Camp Cascades, boiling pots, rainbow falls. Old Hawaii calls them Poakana, Koakanini, Pe'epe'e, Waia Nui Nui. She weaves ever so gracefully, skirting around sacred, smooth boulders, leaving her mossy footprints of slippery limu. She continues to Awana in the wee hours of the morning. From my hamakua-facing bedroom window, I hear her raging, bellowing sounds, drowning out the lonely, searching calls of the small, scaly river creatures of the night. Searching in blind rage, she leaves no boulder, no jagged rock, no slimy pebble unturned. River Mo'o waits, watching her every move, hearing her belches and snorts and eerie releases. He, shaking out the raindrops from his mane of writhing eels, belts out a wicked laugh. Get plenty time, he says, slowly, sharpening his battle-ready claws against the skull boulder. He waits patiently for the right moon. O Wai Luku, you watery, undulating wahine ali'i, once a graceful trickle from Na Lani, you've morphed into a skull crusher, you stone carver, you mo'o slayer, so bloodthirsty for the fearless, sweet weed-scented swimmer. Or was it the claw of the mo'o, of the rain-drenched cave of goddess Hina, that dragged the young baga into the murky depths? Upon reaching her deep, dark, limu-laden green mouth, Maka'olanakila, she forcefully surrenders, her full, swollen self plunging once more into the wide, stormy bay. Both river and sea currents reluctantly mingle. She truly is what old Hawaii called her, destructive waters. Wai Luku, the river, life-giving, life-grasping, ruthless, Kahawai. E Wai Luku I kaua loku loku. E Wai Luku I kaua kālai lepo. E Wai Luku I kaua nahu ili. E Wai Luku I kaua kālai pohaku. E Wai Luku I kaua ho'omomona aina. E Wai Luku I kaua makana nui I ka mahi ai.
This is a poem for Al. Al, this is for you. It is nothing, yet everything. It has the smell of the sweetest fragrance of sambaquita and the smell of rancid dog shit. It is the exhilaration of climbing the highest peak in the Himalayas and the suicidal urge buried in the deepest, darkest pit of despair. It is 10,000 summer suns lighting the sky and 10,000 winter storm clouds darkening all your dreams. Al, this is for you. And Margaret and Jean and Tommy and Jolamanta. These were people who worked at Manila Town back then. And every manong and manang who has ever touched your rain-soaked heart with their bagong breath and pati-stained tribal cloak. This is for you, Al, master of deflection. And all your myriad lives and loves and daily rituals that keep you whole and vital and loving. The secret deep inside your carabao belly. You caring for the manongs and manans, your family and friends, till there is nothing left but tribal ashes in a kalinga Fillmore fire. Dance, dance, and sing your life away. This is for you, Al, and all the brothers and sisters, Joaquin, Seraphine, Ed, Ayani, Leo, Bullet, who shouted to the world that we are one with the world. We dream on stars. We are the stars, trying to interpret the shine, blinded by the brilliance, only knowing that we exist, we live with every fresh snowfall, with every passing of the seasons. Connected with nature, we are nature, light and shadow and light, connected to the stars and moons, planets, revolving around 10 billion suns. We know deep inside our hearts and minds, we connect. We belong to this divine madness, this sacred bonding with all things. We live, we love, fighting, caring deeply for our families, friends, our world. Yet this world declares that we are fools, mad men and women, pursuing things with our words, images, music, dance that they can't understand. But tell me, how do you explain the rain? What is the purpose of this life? In the question is the answer. Life itself is the purpose. Telling our stories, living them, passing it on, listening, learning, turning with the seasons, burning with the fire in our eyes. This is for you, Al. See you in the darkness. See you in the light.
You from Downtown? Part 1. Doozy Choosy Alley, the Boulevard, the Burn, the Manor. Beloved mantra of old kickball champs. Love parades of our holiday college kids. Holidays and summers our college kids. The tat-tat-tat of drum lines. Drum lines and science, math, and chemistry. Too excellent to stay, so away we flew. How excellent we flew, and did we sing? The stride of soldier on her mother's front porch. The stride of soldier on his mother's front porch. Backyard kickball graduation day. Graduation days are our holy days. Run to the corner store. Here, baby. Corner stores closed, candy ladies gone. Beloved mantra of old kickball champs.
This is Listen and Be Heard. Nothing can dim the light which shines from within. Maya Angelou.
This is called Oaktown Blue. And I'm grateful to say that I wrote a play based on this poem, and we have one short run, and we're trying to get it back up running again. They came on foot, by car, riding hope on horseback, by train on the plain. They came wearing faith pockets full of dreams, running from cotton fields and chopping cane. They came running knowing better was waiting, carrying their whole lives in paper bags, carrying guitars on their backs, sacks full of tall tales and blue songs of a home they knew they'd always miss but swore they'd never go back to. They came by ship, discharged scars, wounds no time could heal, released from military hospitals on West Coast shores they'd never even seen. Battle fatigue, confused, feeling used, and they came in droves from the wars, shell-shocked and tired and looking for a home, and when they didn't find it, they built it. On any night in West Oakland, you might run into migrant workers straight out the cotton fields of Georgia, strutting their stuff and partying and bumping and grinding alongside of armies of ditch dingers, trade people, and unemployed PhDs who were never told they were unemployable. Saints and sinners from Texas and Mississippi, from Arkansas and Virginia, Maryland, the Carolinas, and even the West Indies, all dancing away their rage and sadness hidden behind memories of clouds of cotton and buried beneath too many mountains of sugarcane and tobacco leaves of frustrated fury, gladly forgotten and left to rot in deserted plantation fields. And you could hear the relief in the clubs as Big Mama Thornton took her crown and gave Oakland everything, everything. Woman gave us everything, everything she wasn't allowed to give in the South. John Lee Hooker brought the boogie out the Delta, and Bob Geddens, Ivy Joe Hunter, and Charles Brown gave us smooth. You could go right down the street and get yourself some of Beverly Stovall, Sonny Rose, Jimmy McCracklin, J.J. Malone, or the sophisticated sweetness of Jimmy Witherspoon, or the raw passion in L.C. Goodrock and Robbins' blues violin, or get your insides ripped out and put back together again as Etta James and Sugar Pie DeSanto tore the roof off the house. The blues didn't just slip into the Bay Area. It was like a cloudburst. The blues came in waves, powerful waves, waves as subtle as a tidal wave and as painlessly as a pregnant woman in hard labor. The blues came in oversized, raggedy overalls, sometimes sporting evening gowns and three-piece suits. It came furious, luxurious, jubilant, overworked, and underpaid, running from the Klan, holding on to everything they had, while others were just looking for something to hold on to. The blues came west looking for freedom land. L.A., Sacramento, and San Francisco had that big city thing. Folks rocked in Russell City. Vallejo had it seen. Richmond had a kind of smooth Chi-Town sounding thing. But if you wanted a gut-wrenching, soul-taking, down-home blues, the kind of church and your mama both warned you about, the kind of blues that made your hair stand on end and snatch you out of chairs and made you shout and jump, act a fool, that dance that good old makes you want to holler kind of blues, you're going to have to come to Oakland. Oakland, the blues mecca of the West Coast. Scene was as wild or sophisticated as you were. Every place a different personality, and every night was party night where you could romance and grind or whine and cry about what you didn't have, or brag and be loud and proud and show off everything you did have, and talk about everything you wanted to be at Slim Jenkins' club, Esther's Orbit's room, Ruthie's Inn, or Eli's Mile High. Every night an exorcism where another demon was put to rest, where you were free to be real or be downright nasty. You could show your stuff till you were wet with sweat at the Rum Boogie, Christie's Grill, the Palladium Club, and all the nameless hidden round-the-clock juke joints, and the blues came down like rain, fell down on everything, fell down on Oakland where blues was king. Then they came. Knocked down the cafes, tore up 7th Street, closed the clubs, promised jobs and schools to uplift and save. They took the hood and left a wasteland full of restless spirits. Ghosts running loose with plenty of reasons to sing the blues. But when everyone else goes to sleep, you can still see them, hear them. J.C. Burris, Dottie Ivory, Z.Z. Hill, Mississippi Johnny Waters, hear them singing their sounds written all over every building. It seeps up out of the ground you walk on, and it's yours. Little Johnny Taylor, Johnny Hartzman, Percy Mayfield, listen, they tried to free you. They tried to heal you with their songs and blues so strong, even Willie Bobo was singing Never Go Back to Georgia. Buddy Ace, Little Willie John, Cool Papa Sadler, Brownie McGee, Lady Margaret, Lowell Folsom, they'll always be here. They refuse to disappear. Nothing can stop it. Gentrifiers can't block it. The same folks that dance from the blues scene into the mambo sessions and back again at the California Hotel now run to Dorsey's Locker, Bluesville, Sweet Jimmy's, and the Fifth Amendment. The same people and their children are bringing in the new. Queen Ida came two-stepping out the bayou leading the Zydeco parade, and Sugar Pie DeSanto and John Lee Hooker never grow old and still ride on the top of our totem pole. There's Lady Bianca and Jesse James, E.C. Scott and Al Vaughn, Sister Monica, Bobby Webb and Gwen Avery, Little Frankie Lee and Billy Dunn, Wiley Trash, Faye Carroll, Willie G, Frankie Kelly, Johnny Talbot and Ronnie Stewart, leading the caravan of all-stars into tomorrow. It's in the air we breathe, and it just keeps on coming and coming and coming and coming and coming and coming, and nothing and nobody can stop it. Other folks can keep their big heads stuck way up in the clouds, but when it all comes back down to earth, the prize is ours, and it's our jewel, and it's still coming down, Oaktown Blue. See you next week.
I'm going to feel if I get a sample of it. So I'll start with the first one, Suite 1, the bridge.
Avotcja.
When people look at the Golden Gate Bridge, they do not see what I see. I see Bayani and Ellie jumping to their deaths, a lover's pact, uncle and niece. Witnesses said they kissed, held hands, and jumped together. I see Rod's mother, who did the same thing 3 decades earlier. Her epileptic fits were getting worse and worse. I see the first person who crossed that bridge. It was not the white banker who financed it, as it is reportedly known, but a Filipino his driver who test drove it before he crossed the bridge. I interviewed the guy's niece. Yeah, I interviewed the guy's niece, Vallejo. It's not too far from here. I see Pancho Villa. No, not Pancho Villa, Mexican, no, Pancho Villa, born Francisco Guilledo, first Filipino boxing champion. Wala pa si Manny Pacquiao, is nothing compared to Pancho Villa, according to my uncle. First Filipino boxing champion of the world. I saw him with Miss San Francisco of a 1925 photo op from a newspaper with the bridge looming large in the background. That bridge tells me of the Presidio, where thousands and thousands of U.S. troops were housed, embarked from Embarcadero to go to the Philippines and kill Filipinos and squelch the first fledgling republic of that long-standing history of Asia, the Philippines. And there are two poems will follow. One is called Bayani's Tune. Bayani's Tune. Your guitar leaning on someone's porch fence bathed by the rain that slowly melted your dreams away from clenched fists, clutching on, chanting, remembering. The dream more painful is the one left unpursued, and no song is better than 1,000 bad ones. And I have a friend who I've passed away since, who roamed the streets here, Prescott Tabios, another poet and writer. And he wrote something on the bridge that I had to include here. So this is the only piece of writing that is not mine. This is Prescott Tabios, and I want to give credit to him. We'll park over to the other side. If we change our minds, there'll be no toll. Bloodlines run like chords on a guitar. Me, the daughter of your brother. You, in the palm of my hands. The cable on this bridge will make music. Here, uncle, lend me your wing over this rail. Heavy. Okay.
Dancing with royalty. Caramel cocoa skin, next of kin, felt you from afar. Damn, king, you believe in the North Star? I think I seen you in a dream. Or maybe my soul kissed yours once before. Another lifetime, you see. Maybe I was your lover, maybe your mother, your friend, neighbor, sister, or brother. 'Cause right now this all feels too familiar. Like my aura just knows yours, you see. Your walk is a tale of pharaohs that set the mathematical structure of today's monuments. How could I not get trapped in the scent you exude when everything around you just blooms? Even the sweat seeping from your pores make a sister want to swoon. No, all jokes aside, you remind me of the great Nile. Generations of greatness is a fabric of your makeup. When you stand, the earth shakes. A logical captivation makes for a logical equation. Your very breath is critical resistance in motion, living not on, but for the backs of others. Beautiful darkness moving in light. Keep on shining. I see you, king. The heart of a queen never lies. For I, too, am that metaphysical phenomenon, the key that philosophers pursue to free minds. The next sonnet immortalized. So I get it, salute, and recognize. Royalty is a song we dance to at night. I said, royalty is a song we dance to at night.
This poem is called How I Write. Out of hunger, I find myself here. With teeth and stomach, I lean into the ache. Crack my whole self against kitchen island edge. So much is born here in this place where I cook. My foremothers They are all here too, standing right behind me, dressed in the indigo of the cosmos, no recipe or cookbook in hand, just 10,000 hearts singing, "It's time for you to know too, Glenis." They pour into me. With one hand, I let the yolk spill into the container of the poem, turn known and unknown, blend with the salt of my tears and the cayenne of my rage that I've planned a lifetime around. They hand me what they have at hand, dust from the stars, water from the rivers, always red clay of the palmetto or the west coast of the motherland. In this heat, I prepare, bake, broil, and stew. Only when they say, ready, do I set the table of page and stage, serve what I was born to live and give. Machete with sharpest blade, they hold my heart just so. In my pen, they feel blood and dreams. In unison, they chant, now right.
This is Listen and Be Heard. The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. Alice Walker.
The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison.
Once it's heard, it can't be unheard. Once it's published, it's not going to be unpublished. Once you read the poem, you can't unread it. No matter how an individual may try to push it to the side, forget about it, it's still in there. And it's the words, the meaning, the feelings behind it are taking root in their psyche, and they can't get rid of it.
This book is gay by Juno Dawson.
Having books banned, I mean, books are literally the things that keep our entire civilization running. The idea of recording the written word and the spoken word has kept our civilization running. So the idea of banning books, and the idea of banning books specifically for representation, which we all know representation matters so much, especially to the younger generation. If you take representation away from younger people, then what is left for them when it comes to them dreaming and imagining what they can be in the future?
This is Listen and Be Heard. My name is Martha Senator. We've been listening to writers from Season 1 reading from their work. We heard Vanessa Lee Miller read her poem Wai Luku. Syquia read a poem for Al Robles. Yvette Murray read from her book Hush Puppy. Avotcja read her poem Oaktown Blues. Oscar Peñaranda read from Followers of the Seasons. Tony Robles read Julia Wright's poem from A Gathering of the Tribes, Black Lives Matter issue. We heard a poem from Jackie Ramos, and Glenis Redmond read from The Listening Skin. Also, we heard Pilar Uribe reading quotes of famous authors. And we're going to go on to hear Opal Palmer Adisa reading from Pretty Like Jamaica, and some poetry from Dana Bryant and Reg E. Gaines, and a little bit from the Martha's Kitchen Garden stuff that I mixed in here and there during Season 1 from my own writing. So please stay tuned as we continue with the third in our three-part series at the end of Season 1 of Listen and Be Heard, writers reading from their own work. Please visit us at listenandbeheard.net and WLBH.org. We are looking for volunteers to help produce this show, as well as volunteers for Listen and Be Heard Radio. You can visit us to find out more at WLBH.org or listenandbeheard.net, or send some email to editor@listenandbeheard.net.
think folk will be fools to think that the elimination of the problem will lead automatically to the solution. And that's just not the case.
The water very naturally moves through a landscape in a certain pattern. And so food shed is an idea that we can think about food that way.
You just can't think of how many times a day you go to your water source, the tap in the kitchen or the bath, whatever it is, we take it for granted. And it's like gold in Hawaii and many, many cultures that live so close to their land and are so dependent on what Hawaii brings to you and how much it gives you and its abundance. And Hawaii did become it is a commodity all around the world. It's a global issue. It's a global value. And as a commodity, it means that people struggle to own it, to make it theirs, to control it. And a large crop like sugarcane, which came to Hawaii and became a huge catch crop and took over huge swathes of land since the late 19th century on. That land took over and, they diverted water sources and it took away just the water sources that Hawaiians needed to grow their Hawaiian crops, their indigenous crops.
Even though I always was putting my voice in, I definitely felt pressure to have the answer and make it a one-size-fits-all thing. And then in the second edition of the Ethical Meat Handbook, I really changed on that and was like, look, we're all struggling with so many different and disparate contexts.
Certain spaces will be protected and we'll invest in, and other spaces won't be. They'll be left out, and that's always been the case with the marshland area.
Another reason participation is so important is to first of all, you have to be forgiving of yourself based on your context, and then choose the entry point that works best for you.
I wrote, when it's like this, I change. I sort of, I have something planned, or my colleagues have something planned, but it changes as like I'm going to change it now. Now, I noticed that since I told you I write essays and stories, but when I read essays, it's not that interesting, So because essays, when I read it here, I have to do this, look up to my stories, and poems, I can sort of look down all the time and you can get into it. But with essays, it gets kind of stale, not stale, but I don't know, doesn't have any, something like that, so I had to sort of tell story of what I say. So this next one that I'm saying is called Passengers of the Wind. This is, I'm not going to read this stuff. I'm going to tell you about it. And like Peter was saying, this land was occupied with the Native Americans. And that story, Passengers of the Wind, was the first story. The stories that the first Filipinos who came here in the 1500s, 1800s, the Manila Galleon trade, they were passengers of the wind. Because although they were under the employ of the Spanish government, it was really the Filipinos' lumber who made those galleons. It was the Filipino know-how who navigated it around the world. So it's really the Filipinos who made the first world trade run, the force group. And I did that here because I wanted to show that in that experience, the Manila Galleon trade, the first Filipinos came here. And that's why we have Filipino-American History Month in October, because October 18, 1587, they were recorded here by Pedro Inamuno's voyage. And after that, I talked about, in this book here, the Philippine-American War. Now, you see that galleon trade was the relationship between the Philippines and Spain. Filipino-American War, the relationship between the U.S. and the Philippines. The Philippines and the U.S. relationship started ignominiously, started bad. The worst that you can start with, a war. They started a war. Yeah? And it was a bloody war. So please, if you don't know anything about that war, the point of that paper is that you really cannot discuss about Filipinos and U.S. and that relationship unless you study the Philippine-American War, which is hidden by many intentional machinations. You know? So I wrote about that here also. It's called Followers of the Seasons because there are many followers here. There's Follower of the Seasons, singular, that was the writer, probably the narrator, which was me in my memoir. But the followers of the seasons were the people that really I associated with and who really helped me find my voice. These are the workers, the workers in the farms and the workers of Alaska. And we work in Alaska, the salmon. And the salmon itself is a follower of the seasons. Well, we follow the salmon, they follow salmon, they go upstairs, they give birth, and then they die. No? So they follow a certain patterns too. Okay. Alasqueros were the Filipino workers in Alaska doing seasonal jobs, mostly salmon run in the summers. There were crab and halibut too, but their seasons are after the summer. There were a few Filipino workers who work with canneries as well. Alasqueros were not natives of Alaska originally. They came all over from the West Coast and some farther, like Elmo, the ex-hitman of Al Capone, who was from Chicago, but some would eventually take up residence there, like James Bond, who they say was in Alaska 11 months. That's not his real name, James Bond. Eli Valdez. But in Alaska, everybody's got a real name, right? James Bond, Eli Valdez, Ilocano guy. Nice guy. Yeah, good singer too. Okay. But working about 11 months of the year, Alasqueros were not locals, but working seasonal visitors. The same companies that employed them employed the farm workers who put fruits as well as fish in a can. For Filipinos, the same workers that worked the fields of the West Coast worked the fish canneries in Alaska. Some foremen for picking fruits and vegetables picked their choice workers to go to Alaska. All the gold in the years of the California gold rush does not equal 1 year of agribusiness profits. That's how big money it is in agribusiness. 4 months before the now famous grape strike in Delano, union folks led by Larry Itliong were able to negotiate in Coachella a contract in May of 1965. Remember, the Delano strike was September 8, 1965. There were successful months before that. Agribusiness, what's that? The neighboring Delano farmers knew that Itliong and the farm workers were coming to their town next and would demand negotiations from the farmers and the owners. Agribusiness reared its ugly head, and on September 8, 1965, Larry Itliong and about 1,500 Filipino laborers in the farmlands around Delano started day one of a strike and boycott of grapes that would last several more years. That was the beginning of the great strike. Many people know that. Now, the year after I graduated from St. Ignatius High School, I have to mention that because Jesuits, they'll hunt you down.
It is squandered and they are treated rather badly. So this is Catherine's voice somewhere in the middle of the book after her mother has sent for her 2 younger siblings. 2 years ago, Mama sent for my older brother and sister, Patrick and Janice, and leave me one with Granny. Me did vex bad and wouldn't speak to Mama when she called. Me heart miss Patrick and Janice so bad sometimes at night, me hear it crying. Granny hugged me tight and kissed me and say, "Don't mind, precious, the last shall be first one day." And it's true, because me always first with Granny.
This is a poem for Mumia Abu Jamal by Julia Wright from A Gathering of the Tribes, issue number 16, the Black Lives Matter issue. Time runs out of steam as Mumia struggles to breathe. His weary pulse beats to the drum of our collective heart. He senses our footsteps in the ashes of their furnaces. He touches his walls to hear the throbbing of our songs and takes another gulp of fresh hope.
This poem is called The Mask. I just wrote it one day. You know, you have this feeling and it goes, I take it off only when it is safe, when I'm alone in bed. Covers drawn, eyes closed, shadows surrounding me, begging to be seen behind closed eyes, seeking to understand this world, these out of focus pictures, colors flash, red lines against black. I see realms that are only in my dreams. I search, I wish for a greater love, a better life, the feeling that I am safe, I am nurtured, I am home. This world in my dreams, covered in other people's dreams and other people's nightmares and others' fears. Where am I in these dreams? Where am I in this world? I remember waking to this life, awareness that I was in a body, realizing I was by myself, and I was Black, and I was female, and disconnected from my home, from my family, living on this earth, questioning why I was here, what I needed to do to get home, to be loved, to be cherished, to feel human, to see earth as home, to forget that I am only a visitor, to no longer long for, hope for home. Over and over again, I would repeat until I could believe the words, I am not a visitor. This is home.
A journal entry included in a 12-year-old manuscript that was meant to be a book, but never became one, can be a challenge to my perception of who I would like to be. I am 60. Who I would like to believe is me now is a different contemplation from a young woman who doesn't know yet who she will turn out to be or be turned out to be, or the middle-aged, married, and harried mother I was on June 24th, 2011, when I wrote what now offends my idea about how I should have been. That woman used work to fill the silent void that was sucking on her fantasy life like a black hole dragging down starlight. Here's how my day started about 12 years ago. I made myself a coffee, clipped cilantro and laid it in the herb dryer, strung together about 20 jalapeno peppers and hung them in the pantry before he appeared with a scowl creasing his forehead and drove off without a word. I started beets to boiling in a water bath canner and looked up some cucumber recipes. I decided on soup. Now, anyone reading that journal entry might ask, why was he angry? Why didn't he say anything? Is he leaving or will he come back? Is it her fault? I could ask the same question because I don't remember. Most likely, I didn't know what I did wrong anyway. I worked obsessively to keep myself from ruminating over the many ways I tried and failed to communicate with my husband, which wasn't always effective because mostly I was working in isolation, my thoughts free to torture me without interruption. But I didn't want to talk about it in my journal or with myself. The decisions to come or go, be angry or not, I left in his hands. I decided on cucumber soup. But that was just the beginning of that day. I go on to list more activities.
You thought if you ignored me that I might just go away, but it seems I reappeared on Miscarriage of Justice Day. When you thought if you ignored me that I might just go away, but it seems I reappeared on Miscarriage of Justice Day.
electricity in the sky, and I try and wonder why, cause I just didn't wanna die. Imagine if you can, 200 blows from an oak stick, swung by the fiery demon of hatred and his clique. Blood rushes to the surface of the skin to form bruises. Muscles swell, and from my cracked skull, my life oozes. I drink milk, but still my bones are no match, and they fracture and crack up. They just call for backup. My naturally thick African lips are split in twice the size. His mad fist blows close my eyes. I'm lost in the scene of sirens and lights with blurry vision, surrounded by fear and indecision. One blow validates the next, and the next becomes harder than the last. I hear echoes from the past. We shall overcome. And as a steel-toe boot kicks my jaw, my teeth cut through my tongue. One more breath. A cracked rib punctures my lung and I'm near death. My limp, lifeless body represents a struggle that hasn't ended. Electrify the sky, get offended.
Thought if you ignored me that I might just go away, but it seems I reappeared on Miscarriage of Justice Day. When you thought if you ignored me that I might just go away, but it seems I reappeared on Miscarriage of Justice Day. I am 10 million voices raised in a collective scream of disbelief, outraged that your token gesture of justice would be tolerated, supported, believed, and called due process. Was it really a surprise to find my silence was not to be your answer when it was written in electric sky?
Electric, 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 electric.
Why do we feel need to be seen? Obscene obsession, constant connection. Tablets, laptops, snapshots of self. Brain-dead devices focus on faces. Multiple moments, plethora of places. Again and then when none know why. Devotion of some has become number one. Hits, likes, comments below. Stalking ourselves, now our own prey. Selfishly snapping salacious selfies. Bedrooms, bathrooms, 10 times a day. Gleaming bicuspids, dimples and cheeks. Sneaking, peeking, freaks of an industry paid from our vein. Inconsequential imaging saying. Semi-nude, extensions in hair. Faces distorted, glare while we dare. Quickly share how we appear. Now the voyeur, no sign of fear. Diamond in nose, adhere to a pose. Infinite intimacy with friends and foes. Influenced by what we think others see. Look at ourselves. Can it be we? Or simply some of what's in, what's not? Sending, trending, in hopes photos hot. Stand in mirror, reflection gone. Vainglorious vampires long to live on. Can one judge self without one's heart? Hits, likes, comments start with flick of switch, androids click. Some say simple, some say sick. Automatons dictate existence, algorithms, data, statistics. In this virtual world we seem to deem real, moments of clarity, devices don't feel. They steal our soul, control what we are. In hindsight, everybody's not a star.
That was the voice of Reg E. Gaines doing a poem called Connections. Before that was Dana Bryant from her CD Electric Skies. My name is Martha Senator, and the show is Listen and Be Heard. We've been listening to writers reading their work from season 1. And I made a little mistake because we didn't hear from Tony Robles reading Julia Wright's work from A Gathering of the Tribes until the second half of the show. And I also failed to mention that we would be hearing from Kim McMillon reading from her work, which was a really great episode. But we did, in fact, hear from her. We also heard a little more from Oscar Peñaranda reading from Followers of the Seasons. And we heard Opal Palmer Adisa reading from Pretty Like Jamaica. And I was reading a little bit from an unpublished book that I'm trying to rework all about my experiences in agriculture, I guess you could say. And what else? What else did we hear? We heard Pilar Uribe with some quotes from, we had one from Alice Walker, and I forget at the moment who the other one was, but we heard from her as well, and I want to thank Pilar for the contribution that she made to season 1, as well as Jay Rodriguez Sierra for all of the loops of music that I've been able to use for background, some of which you heard in this show behind stories and poetry and interviews and so on. And you could find out more about Jay Rodriguez at his website at jrodriguezsierra.com. And DJ Jeannie Hopper for coming on as a producer. And I look forward to working more with her in season 2. And then, of course, Tony Robles, who was my co-host for season 1 and contributed so many of the interviews that were such a great part of the whole season. And as well, all of the authors who were our guests and the poets. And it's been an incredible learning curve for me, both about producing a show, getting a streaming radio station started, and I've learned a lot about writing by talking to other writers, and I hope that it's been equally valuable to our listeners and the writers who participated. We are looking for volunteers for season 2. Perhaps you have some ideas of how you would like to contribute to this show, and I would like to hear them. You can get in touch at editor@listenandbeheard.net. We also need producers, engineers, all kinds of people to get involved with Listen and Be Heard Radio. I want to thank Davine Dial, the station manager at WPVM in Asheville, North Carolina, who was the first person to give us the opportunity to be broadcast on the airwaves. We've since been heard on KCEI in Taos, New Mexico, and WXOX in Louisville, Kentucky. And we are all part of the Pacifica affiliate network, as well as the brand new WLBH.org in Greenville, South Carolina, where this show, Listen and Be Heard, originates from. My name, once again, is Martha Senator. Please visit us at listenandbeheard.net, where you will find an archive of this show, which is also a podcast. And this is the final episode of season 1. So I look forward to bringing you season 2, episode 1, next week. And please also visit us at WLBH.org. Maybe not the newest affiliate station at Pacifica, but one of the newest. And we are working on growing and looking for people to grow and participate with us. My name is Martha Senator. I want to thank you for joining me in the audio garden. I'll be here next week, sitting on my bench, hanging out with the chickens and the ducks and the goats, and talking about books, literature, and community, and our environment. I want to thank you for listening and for the opportunity to be heard. Living it, giving it, having it, taking it, moving it, shaking it, creating it, loving it, living it.